If our permanent professor would like to introduce our session, will be.
Okay, shall I start, Jen? Okay, so, well, many thanks to our speakers of today to join this call. And also welcome to everybody who is joining either as a student from the current year of the Studies in Economics department. And also if there are probably any people from outside that are joining this call. And so I have to say probably either good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, wherever you are in the globe at this moment. Okay, so it's a pleasure to have this series of calls with different alumni from different years. And the aim of these calls is actually to bring a bit to the attention of, well, first of our students, but also to people who may be interested actually in joining in the future our department, to know what kind of trajectory our students take once they finish the studies. And I think we have a good example today with Felipe, Daniel, and Lukas, who have gone to different places in different institutions or different organizations, and can talk about what life was maybe at the college, but also definitely what the trajectory is that they have taken afterwards and how they actually maybe did this in practice. So, well, Jean, I will leave the practical organization to you, how we will want to organize this with questions. And if you want to keep separate questions from people outside and inside our classes. So I'll leave that to you. So many thanks to the speakers of the first session. So many thanks for showing your availability. And I know it's a bit late probably for you, but many thanks for doing so.
Leaving the floor to our speakers, I told them that they're completely free to decide on the format for today. And if they will be very happy to first listen to your experience, to your career path, and maybe leave the floor to the students. I'm sure they have a lot of questions for you.
Yeah, then I would invite Lukas to start. I'm gonna, but before people know, I mean, Lukas and I, we were part of the same bar committee, so I can absolutely nominate him to start and sort of finally give him that payback of having to clean up every Thursday night after Lukas refused to do that. So I'm gonna nominate Lukas to start and then follow after that.
Throwing your old boss under the bus. Well, beautiful, beautiful. No. Okay, I'll start. I think at least I'll keep it very short. I think that the questions would be what you guys are most interested in. So I went to the college now 3 years ago. So from the 18-19 Marine promotion, and I studied ECO-EPA. I had to look up again what the acronym was for. It's been a while. So the ECO-EPA, I think we were with 6, and Flip was also one of them. After the college, I mean, quite standard trajectory in the sense that I started this as a Blue Belt trainee in DG ECFIN in the Commission in October 2 years ago. So that's 5 months where I worked on monetary policy, which was mostly research based for 5 months. You get a flavor of how the Commission works, even though it is from a very, let's say, distinct perspective as a trainee. And in that sense, 5 months was not enough, at least so I thought. So somebody's sharing the screen. I see. I don't know if that is on purpose or not. Yeah. Anyway, so I thought, okay, I want to stay longer in the Commission of the institutions, and then during the traineeship, I applied for the Junior Professionals Program, which I am in today. So which I'm in still today. Very lucky that the Commission around, let's say, 2015-16 realized that there's a lot of young people entering the institution, but they always leave right after because the Commission doesn't give enough, let's say, opportunities to keep them, and that's where this program kind of made it from. So I was able to, and I was lucky enough then that I met all the eligibility criteria to apply and then to get selected for the program as well. What that meant in practice is that, so I left the traineeship at the end of February last year, and then in June I started again under this new program. And the program is a 2-year program where you rotate to different DGs 2 times 6 months. So in the first year, I went to DG Reform, which mostly deals with structural reforms in member states and helps them to set up these reforms and help them implement. It's very much on a project basis. And the second 6 months, I was in DG Regio, so regional policy, of which I, back in the time, also followed an optional course, which was very interesting. And there I dealt mostly with interinstitutional affairs. So then you're looking at the relations with the other institutions, such as the council and the parliament, following working groups in the parliament, for example, and coordinating the response within the DG. And since the 1st of June, I'm back in DG ECFIN. So that's in the second year of the program where we rotate back to our DG where we were when we were a trainee. And now I'm working in a coordination unit that deals mostly with the Recovery and Resilience Facility and the European semester. So that would be my trajectory since the college.
Yeah, then before Daniel, I'll give a bit of background about myself. My name is Felipe van der KERKHOF. I was in the same promotion as Lukas, as he mentioned, and felt very eager to remind me working under him in the bar part of the let's call it the cleanup team, because that in a way is what we did. I hope that you're taking better care of the bar than we are, or than we were a couple of years ago. My name is Felipe van der KERKHOF.
It just opened, Felipe. So
you just opened. Well, then
yesterday evening. So for security. So.
Oh, nein. That happens. Happy to not be in the vicinity now, but maybe at some point we'll get to visit it again. I'm originally from the Netherlands. I graduated as part of the Manuel Main promotion in the EPA program as well. Before that, my background is not necessarily in economics, even though I did do policy analysis out of the economics department, but rather I focus on EU politics back in Leiden in the Netherlands. Did an interdisciplinary degree for my undergraduate in sort of combining climate sciences with public policy back in also in Leiden at the Leiden University College. And after graduating from the college, I went to Berlin in Germany, where I still live today. I worked at the Dutch embassy, working on a variety of topics, but mostly related to German climate politics. I don't know how familiar you are with German climate politics, but back in 2019, there were a couple of big topics on the table. Coal plant closure, that was happening. Hydrogen was a topic that Germany was starting to think about, and those were two topics with my background I could work on, as well as the multi-annual financial framework. As you can imagine, the Dutch did have some opinions on that that I then had to defend, which actually made me feel rather uncomfortable. So I decided to not continue at the embassy and rather move to a company that I had come across during my time at the embassy, also in Berlin, Aurora Energy Research, consultancy that focuses on providing outlooks of the energy market development across Europe, where I focus on Germany, the Netherlands, and Belgium, and I'm now currently, after joining them in April 2020, just after lockdown had hit, I'm now working on developing their commercial activities in the Netherlands and Belgium. So that means that I work with large utilities such as RWE, Uniper, Engie, but also smaller developers that develop energy projects or generation projects, and several governments as well as the European Commission, to try and make them understand why our work is awesome, or rather explain why we might not have the answers to the questions that they're asking. I think that's it for now. I'm really looking forward to your questions. I must admit there are more people in this call than I expected on Friday afternoon. So well done to everyone for that, especially after the bar opening last night. Daniel.
Thanks, Felipe. Yeah, my name is Daniel, and I was not part of the marine promotion, but of the promotion that came after it. So the Hannah Arendt promotion from 2019 to 2020. I still have some things in common with the other two speakers, though, because I was also part of the bar committee. I also was in ECO-EPA, and with Felipe, as you might have seen already, I also share the same employer and workplace and place of living. Yeah, like on my end, I also, similar to Felipe, I did not have a full economics background. I studied international relations in Germany. I'm also from Germany originally. Yeah, and then went to Bruges to focus more on the EU side of things. And also after having finished the college, I thought I would take the same trajectory as Lukas, actually. So I moved to Brussels and I started working for Deloitte in their public policy analysis team. So they have a team basically working on studies for the European Commission for all different DGs. In my example, I was working on a study for DG Trade and a study for DG FISMA. Yeah, but I figured like my original plan was actually also to do the Blue Book traineeship, but back in the days, COVID was was still well in the beginning phase, and there were not many Blue Book spots at that time because the previous promotion was allowed to continue to extend their traineeship. But then it still worked out, and then I said, yeah, I take the risk and leave the job actually and go to the commission for the traineeship. And I went to DG Trade, which I found very interesting as well. I was in the trade defense department there. So those are the people who are working on anti-dumping and anti-subsidy cases, which for me is quite interesting because it was not the part of trade that I had known before from my study. So yeah. And then after the traineeship, I went into political affairs or lobbying, as you wish, in the trade and also the energy and climate field in Brussels. And that was the point where I figured out that that this kind of work is just not analytical enough for me, that I want to dive deeper in either one of those topics, trade or climate and energy. And yeah, and so I was looking for something more analytical. And yeah, that's how I ended up finding out about Aurora Energy Research, a company that Felipe obviously already introduced you to, and also got in touch with Felipe and he convinced me to join. No, but yeah, and now I just moved to Berlin last month and joined the company, and I joined their graduate analyst program. So that might be also something of interest for you because it's especially tailored for graduates. And this is a program where I will see the three parts of the company, so to say. So I'm now in the research part, where we work on reports, power market forecast reports for clients. And then we'll then move to the consulting part of the company, where we have more short-term projects where we focus on certain specific questions of clients. And then lastly, look into commercial team as well, where Felipe is currently mostly working on. Yeah, also very much looking forward to your questions and hope, yeah, we can help you out maybe.
Thank you to the fair here. It was super interesting. I will just go back on. So you were all members of the bar committee, and before we started recording, you told me, yeah, this is good because when you're a member of the bar committee, you have, you know, these networking skills. And this is something super impressive that all the alumni from the College of Europe are doing a great, impressive job. So how would you say that what in your life at the college, not just the course, but what really the life, what you experienced living all together, having all this association, what have you learned from it that was useful for you then on your professional life? Before I leave the floor to students for all their.
I think to me, Daniel is a great example, and is a great example in trying to utilize the network that the college offers, and use it in the best possible way. To give you a bit of context, Daniel had found out about the company that I currently work for independently, and saw through LinkedIn that there was, and then you see an alumni of the college is working there, currently working there, and just decided to write me out of the blue, sort of in the famous words of Dutch philosopher Johan Cruyff, who also did something in football at some point. If you don't shoot, you can't score. I mean, he had nothing to lose basically, and he asked, "Hey, can we just have a chat about your company, about the job that you're currently doing, and just about things, career advice in general?" And I could have done two things. Either I could have be like, "I'm busy now, I won't do anything." That would have cost Daniel about 30 seconds of his life of writing a message. Or as what happened, I decided to respond to him, and we had a couple of conversations about the job and about, what you could do in general. Now, what does this mean for the college? Yes, we all three of us were in the bar, but I don't think that the bar was a deciding factor in part of the network. I think it's the college name and the college brand that unites people. I'm sure that Lukas can comment on whatever is going on in Brussels on that. But in general, the name and the brand in and of itself is so strong that that is already enough of a way to reach out. The only thing that's with the current students and with future students is to be opportunistic enough, so to say, to reach out and utilize that. And the worst thing that can happen is that someone doesn't respond.
Yeah, I very much share that feeling. Maybe to take it one step more back to what happens in Bruges itself, in that what to me was very striking and unique about it is that it brings so many people together that share some interests, but also have very different backgrounds and interests going forward. And in that sense, what I learned the most of, which is not to discredit and anything, is from talking to the people there. And the courses are extremely interesting and give you analytical and skills and these kind of things. But talking to the people there is also very enriching for so many reasons. And indeed, it's what Felipe said. I fused this as well in that sense that when I applied for the Blue Book, there were already so many other students who had already done it before they came to the college, and so you talk to them, you check with their advice, and so I knew so much more from talking to people who had already had that experience. Because, for example, 1 year before I was in the college, I also applied for the Blue Book, just like out of the blue, for the traineeship out of the blue, just put something down in the box and be like, "Yo, this would be nice." Well, I got shot down like right away, which made perfect sense. But then 1 year later, I tried again, and it's not. My application itself was much better, qualitative speaking, and it was not only because of the courses or because of I went to the diploma that I would receive at the end of the year. It's just getting the insights of people who have already done what you're aspiring to do. And I did the same when I applied for the junior professionals program. You look up people who have done it in the past, you hit them up, you go for a coffee, you share experiences, and you gather information as much as you can. And in that sense, it's really that attitude that my year in Bruges really taught me to, if you're interested in something, talk to people, get information, and be proactive in that sense. And that can only lead to good things, I would say.
Yeah, maybe what I would want to add is also, it's probably also coincidence that now we're all from the same program, but I think what also is such a huge benefit of the college is that you meet so many people from other disciplines as well, because I think usually when you do bachelor's or your master's in a certain discipline, I mean, you hang out with the people from from economics or from the politics department or from the law department, but I think the college gives you the opportunity to, expand your network across disciplines. And I think this is very helpful also in later careers, because you might not obviously always stay in your track, but you might also wish to, take a different turn, and then it's very helpful to know people from other disciplines.
what I would maybe just add to that as a final note is we're talking about the college network, but I think this is a good attitude to build any network at all. And especially in Brussels, this is just a skill that I also apply to people who didn't go to the college. I don't think this exclusivity is not a good thing to me. So I think this is just an attitude that I learned there that I apply now, and that helps me widen my knowledge and my circle in any case.
If some students would like to ask questions, please raise your hand or just unmute yourself. Maybe turn your camera on. It would be nice seeing you when you ask the questions. Otherwise, I'm going to nominate people. So, okay. I'm going to just ask you guys maybe one last, so they have time to find out your questions. So maybe, we have people from EU Commission and from a private research company. It's two different type of company. And Daniel, you're the perfect example. You had your traineeship also as a Blue Book trainee, and then you're working in your private company. What is different between working at the EU Commission and working at Aurora Research? And what would you say to us about it?
The first thing that comes into my mind is that people are half the age, maybe. But and then, well, I think it's hard to compare for me also in terms of experience, because when I did my Blue Book traineeship, I managed to go to the office, to the commission once during the 5 months due to COVID. So it really affected my experience a lot, I would say. But then it's also hard to generalize, right? Because I could maybe speak about how the experience was in my section or in my unit. Maybe it's a bit more structured and of course more hierarchical, but I think that's logic because it's a huge institution, and you're also bound by, of course, Lukas mentions inter-institutional relations, whereas at Aurora we're quite a small company, and I would say even though I'm at the most junior role you can be in Aurora, I already have some, freedom to also shape certain things and shape ideas. And yeah, I think that's a difference, just because it's such a much smaller company as compared to this big institution. So that for me, I would say it's a huge difference.
If I compare the private sector to my experience at an embassy, I would also definitely agree with the age aspect. In that career diplomats, I mean, you have them across the entire spectrum. You have a couple of young ones, you have a couple of medium-aged ones, and you have a couple of old ones, and that is just the way that foreign ministries work, especially in a post that is as important to the Netherlands as Germany is. And the fact that especially we're not a startup anymore. We're supposed to call it a scale-up, which is just semantics for a startup that has grown a little bit. The age is definitely, it's very interesting to work in a company where the oldest person that you're working with is 36 years old. And you grow together and you have the same sort of meme reference. People know what a meme is. Let's begin with that. People know how working virtually works and things like that. And that brings me to my second point. And I don't know how that is with the commission, but especially in the private sector, I mean, in the end of the day, your wages are being paid by you meeting deadlines or not. There's a project. There's a company that has turned to you for this project because they can't do it themselves. Or they can't they can't finish the project in the timeline that they need it in. And that means that in the end, they pay you for getting things done on time. And that means that there is a little bit more of a deadline hunting aspect in this sort of consulting service than there was at the embassy, where people did work very hard, but also would be like, okay, can't meet it today. I can try again tomorrow. Now, being very clear, this is my experience at the embassy. I don't know how that is for the commission in Brussels. That might be entirely different.
Am I now supposed to respond to that? No, what I can say about working in the commission is that it is indeed an absolute huge institution, and what this has a lot of advantages and a lot of disadvantages as well. Indeed, the working environment and work dynamics are very different than from a private company, especially because it is. Well, I don't think I would describe the commission as being dynamic, and let's put it that way. And so, of course, there are many things that are bureaucratic about an institution like that. That's just how it is, and you try to change these things on a daily basis, but things move slowly, no matter what. What is an advantage to me, for example, for working in the commission is that, as I said, it's a huge institution, which means that there's the variety of jobs within the commission is limitless. There is a job that is. There are also many research-based jobs in the commission. A lot of people who do research and write notes and then turn that into policy papers, for example. Whereas what I am doing now is a bit more deadline driven, in that sense that when a request arrives from higher up for a specific meeting between the commissioner and him or her or that group, well, if you turn up your material 2 days too late, yeah, then no good, and this is not something that you want to do. So yeah, it's variety of jobs, and that is, to me as well, super interesting about the commission.
Leaving the floor to the students. If you wish to raise your hands or unmute yourself and directly ask your questions. Okay, Marina.
Yeah, I have a question. I don't know if you can hear me well. Let me try to turn it on. Yeah, I don't know if you can see me. But in any case, it's a question more directed to Lukas. Basically, I was wondering whether in the ECO-EPA track, do you think that the profile in that sense, in the economical part, is also attractive in the commission in DGs which are not purely economic related? So let's say, for example, EAC or employment, which is more social related. Do you think that the ECO-EPA track still gives you tools which can be applied in the analysis that is done there? And in that sense, a second part of the question is if there's any competences that you would have liked to improve while you were at the same time at the college, and that you would recommend us to focus on while we're doing our studies here. Thank you very much.
I will answer, but then I also want the other two to answer, because I think it's a valid question for all three of us. I think I remember when I was looking at the website before I applied to the college that I thought, I am a trained economist, more or less. I follow this degree that only exists in Belgium, so I'm not gonna bother. It's a combination of economics and engineering. But in any case, when I looked at the website, I saw the EPA track, and I thought, okay, this seems interesting in the sense that it combines the analytical side of the economics, but also with the policy/politics side, so to speak. And I think that has been very useful, and it's also this kind of profiles that are in demand in the commission, just as I said, analytical, very hardcore researchers are in the commission. There's also people who need to relay or transfer or convert that message, so to speak, from an extreme analytical point of view to a political point of view, and to a policy line that you can take. And so that is something that duality is something that I enjoyed while being at the college. The program has changed from what I understood since we did it, so I can't really speak to any details. But it's that mindset of or that duality of having both the analytical and the policy/politics line that is very interesting and will always be in demand at the commission, so to speak. On the second part, on competences or skills that if I understood correctly, that I would advise you to develop now this year. Well, this is a bit more difficult. Then I would say something very specific, which is clear writing. Learn how to write short sentences, which are clear and to the point that anybody can understand. Which is maybe not the answer you're looking for, but I'm going to give it anyway. Yeah.
No, it's perfect. Thank you very much.
Yeah, but I was writing down what Lukas was answering, and as per usual, I it's just like we're in the college again. I wrote down a lot of what Lukas said, because he does make some good points. I think the key, I would divide it along three sort of main elements. One, in terms of skills that you can get in the program, I'm absolutely with Lukas. Clear communication is absolutely everything. You get, for every class, for every seminar, for everything that you do, you get a huge amount of information. There is even more information available, and you need to bring that down to sort of distill it to the key points, and then you need to be able to communicate those key points, and that is incredibly relevant for every type of profession that you would want to excel in. So being able to do that is incredibly important. Second, I think part of what you can focus on as well is the college experience. That is incredibly useful. So not just what you learn in the classroom, but also what you can learn in, for example, extracurricular activities, where you do have this exposure to committees and the international environment. Again, that is being part of them, that is being cherished in the commission, but also across different jobs throughout Europe. Building a network, using that network, and things like that, as well as sometimes the political aspects of the extracurricular activities. I mean, there can only be one person doing one thing, and that means that other people have to do other things, and you build coalitions and you play around with that, and that's how you can do things. It might seem very childish sometimes while you're doing it at the college, but it's actually a really useful skill to have and take that on further in life. And then the third and final point, I think, as a skill to really take home, would be to communicate confidence. And that is that you've arrived at the college. That is not an easy feat by any means. That is something that you can be proud of, that you should be proud of. That means that you have excelled in something earlier in life. And that confidence you can then use to, when you're searching for jobs, you don't need to be on your backhand. You need to be, going out there and feel good about what you've achieved so far, and making sure that you can communicate this confidence to the outside world.
Thank you.
So yeah, very interesting point as well. Maybe what I can add is maybe not so much in how it helped me like in the commission, because I wasn't there for too long, but for me, what this public policy analysis, this EPA program, helped me was it opened doors to different jobs. So the first job that I started was pretty much tailored to it. So it was public policy analysis. So I think that helped me really much to get into Deloitte, into this team. And then later on, when I did political affairs, it helped me that they saw, okay, he's not a pure economist, but he learned about how the institutions work as well as part of the program, and he learned to combine these things. So your profile is also interesting for these kind of political affairs jobs. And then now I moved into the more analytical, I would say more economics part of the jobs field. And there, obviously, it helps that, it is an economics degree. So my experience shows a bit that this program really allows you to go in different directions. And it's not such a niche program where it might be more difficult to go into one way or the other.
Do we have any more questions from students or?
If I may say so, if in the meantime people are sending me connection requests on LinkedIn, I will not accept if you don't ask a question. Sounds fair?
I think it's very fair. So students, if you need a connection, if you need tips for your Blue Book application, I would ask some question if I were you. Okay, I'm gonna ask one.
So I had a question about Blue Book, but Lukas, you said that between your first application before coming to the college, it was a complete failure, and then it was much easier. So what is for you the thing that you missed before coming to the college in your application? What is the thing that you learned or you apply that made everything change?
I would say mostly the mindset, in the sense that I mean the difference in approach of applying for this could not have been bigger in retrospect. As I said, I mean, I think in for the Blue Book, if I remember, like the first deadline is like end of January, where you need to drop in the file. At least that was when it was a few years ago. I think it's still the same. But I remember in the year before I went to the college that it was in like 2 days before the deadline, I stumbled upon it online. I was like, oh, why not? This could be nice, because I had felt throughout my studies that maybe I would want to be working in the public sector. I'm not exaggerating. This is kind of how it went. And then I opened up the form. It already took me a long time to just get registered. So that was another half day gone. And then in the day and a half that was left, it would be nice to work for the commission and to see how this works on the European level. And this is kind of what I wrote. And I'm an economist, and yeah, and in Europe we monitor economies. This is something that I had then searched on the website of the commission, you see, and this is kind of the extent of it. Whereas when I was at the college, first I had, of course, much more knowledge about the institutions and what they exactly do. But at the same time, as I said before, the mindset was completely different in the sense that now I saw how, and I knew from talking to people who had done it before, how much effort they put into it. And so I thought, okay, I need to match this. And so this is an advantage and a disadvantage of being at the college. Absolutely. But it shows you how much you need to invest, or it showed me how much I needed to invest and put in it in order to get it. And I think that is the main difference between applying out of the blue and not knowing anything about the Blue Book, pun intended, and being at the college and doing it together with and learning from other people.
If I may, I think we can make a larger point about this in general, and again it comes down to preparation, right? Knowing what you want. I always feel like looking for a job, be it the Blue Book, be it somewhere else in Brussels, be it in the vast lands outside of Brussels, is like dating. It's you bring something, but you also want something out of it. And I think key to this entire process is understanding what you can bring, but also understanding what you want out of something. And for that, an entire process goes out. And that starts with knowing what a position entails, knowing what you can bring to the table. There you can build that through having these conversations beforehand, like Daniel did, like Lukas did for his junior program in Brussels. It all comes down to investing the time beforehand to know if it could be a fit. And once you've found that it could be a fit, putting in the time to making sure that the other person, now we're talking about clear communication, the other person can see how this is a fit. And once you've done that, I mean, once you've established that, I think, I mean, obviously there's always an element of luck, but at least it's not to you not having done your best anymore.
Two students have raised their hand. If Ivan, you want to jump in and ask a question?
Yeah. Hi. I think my question would be slightly targeted to Daniel, because you mentioned that you've did quite a bit of like a variety of jobs since graduating, even though you've just graduated like 3 years ago. So I was wondering whether, I mean, it's also for everyone, how conscious that kind of career planning is, or what aspects do you kind of consider when making decision like that you move on from one kind of jobs to another after like working there only a few months, and what do you, maybe all of you, have in mind of like when you kind of plan your when you were planning your careers like after graduating from the college?
I think it's a very good question, and I've asked myself the question a lot as well, because yeah, as you noticed, I've moved quite around a bit. It hasn't been 3 years, but I think 1.5 years that I graduated. But I mean, for me, it was part of because just it's in my nature that it's never been really that crystal clear what I want to, like, what interests me the most. I've always had, different fields, but also different disciplines that interested me. I mentioned before, that I first focused a lot on trade. I also went to DG Trade because that's what I was very much interested in. At the college, I discovered climate economics and climate policy in a course by Professor Aikmans. I don't know if it's still in the program this year, but I was fascinated by this, and that's why I moved in that direction then after the Bloomberg traineeship. But I mean, you do have a point that at some point, I was also clear that now, when I figured out during my time that I was political affairs that this is not really what I want to do, then I had figured out, yeah, now I kind of know what I want to do. I want to do something more analytical, and I want to do it in a field that I'm interested in. For me, those are the two things that need to fit, kind of the way you do your work. So for me, it's now what I said, it's quite analytical, and the field in which you work need to fit. At least for me, that's what I learned. And I think when you figured out that, then it's maybe easier to choose your path. But I think yeah, you shouldn't go in there's two extremes. I mean, you can tell yourself, I need to stick to what I started, because otherwise it might look weird on my CV. I think that's a bad extreme, because yeah, I wasn't very happy at my first job, and I could have said, I have a full-time position now at this company, and I will stay there because it will look bad on my CV if I leave after 4 months, or I might not find another job later. And I had these fears, obviously. But I think that's a bad decision, because if you don't feel at ease, if you don't really like what you do, then you'll probably also not be very successful. But on the other hand, of course, you should probably also not jump around too much, because then your fourth or fifth employer is going to be like, yeah, how long are you going to stay at our company if you only stay like a couple of months at all the others? So something in between. And yeah, I think for now, for me, I found something that I like, and I'm glad that it worked out now. But yeah, I think you shouldn't be too stressed if by now you don't know exactly yet what you want to do after the college.
Yeah, I would absolutely echo in the sense that I never planned too long in advance. That's just not how I work. And in the sense that, I mean, I think that many of us who do study things at the college, like across all programs, that in any sense we have a very strong general interest in the areas of, and it's rarely say that you are very niche already when you go into the college and when you come out of the college. I would say that is very rare. It could be the case, and then let's say that it's good, because then you already kind of know where you would want to end up, and you can work specifically towards that. For me, this is absolutely not the case. In episode terms, I'm very much of a generalist profile. That's also why I kind of liked the economics policy duality or combination. what I, for example, did is when I applied to the Blue Book, I said yes to a unit that maybe I would not have, or I could have ended up in an other, maybe better suited for me unit to do the traineeship, in the sense that when you're from the outside looking into the commission and somebody offers you a traineeship, you if it's more or less a fit, you jump on it, and that's what I did, and I was very happy that I got the security right away, that, or soon, let's say, that I would go something. But this was, as I said in the beginning, a very research type of unit of job, where this is not really my area of where I would want to go further. And then I looked further and was like, okay, then I can explore perhaps other paths within the commission, and there's a variety, as in the beginning. But I did not apply to the Blue Book thinking, oh, then I should enter this program, and then I should do this, then I should do that, because I didn't know this program existed. So in that sense, planning ahead was 5 months, and that was it. And there's plenty of time and plenty of opportunities to hop around and see what's your fit. I'm not sure I still have found, or I already have found my perfect fit. That's not how it works, and that's I think we all change jobs quite a bit in the course of the career.
Yeah, the only thing I would like to add is don't set out to find the right thing, but be able to give up on the wrong thing. And that is not nice, or might not be. It's not the sort of American how to live your life book advice that you might expect. The one recipe for success. I don't think there is a recipe for success. I think there's a recipe for fulfillment and for growth, where you need to reflect actively on, is this what I want? Is this what I need at this point? And am I willing and able to move on if it isn't? And I think that is an important part of things.
Yeah, maybe if I'm, yeah, I think this is very important, because what I would, for example, also do differently in retrospect, especially in the second semester, this is when, like, let's say the application crazy gets going very soon. Blue Book is like the first step of that, and then it just keeps rolling until the end of the year, is indeed what we tried to convey earlier. And this is maybe now a bit in contradiction of what I said earlier, but try to look for things that you think are a good fit, and it may not be a good fit afterwards, but at least initially try to think of why that job or that traineeship or that would be a good fit. Because what I did, and what I regretted in retrospect, is that I literally applied to everything and anything that was moving, kind of, and that's a bit fueled by everybody doing the same thing, whereas I applied for things that, in retrospect, or I should have known, that were not a good fit at the start already. And that could be traineeships at the ECB, and like a very, very niche thing, or that could be anything. I'm only giving an example. But that is also draining in terms of attention and investment that you need to make. So if I would, again, if you can try, but at least try to find a good motivation of applying for something, because you can't find a good reason for applying, then I don't think you should. And that then you can better invest your time in things that you are convinced of, which kind of contradicts, but still, I mean, there's a room for margin, I would say. But this is something that I would have done differently, for example.
Thank you.
Gaëtan, the floor is yours for your question.
Thank you very much. Good evening, and thank you very much for coming. Would you be so kind as to give us some tips regarding the EPSO selection process? When is the best moment in a career to apply, for instance? Thank you.
Philip, you want to take this one, or should I?
Absolutely. No, absolutely not. Daniel, Daniel, Lukas. I think this question is for you, if only for the fact that I have not tried.
Daniel, go ahead. I'll compliment then. If you have.
So we're talking. I mean, with EPSO, we're talking about the generalist concours, so like for permanent position. Just because there, I might also not be very knowledgeable. I know something about the contract agent positions and how the process is there, because it's something I applied for as well, and I passed the test while I was a Blue Book trainee. So I know a bit about how these contract agent positions work, but about the EPSO I never applied. So maybe Lukas is a better And I know that you have an internal concours as well, right? At the end of your JPP. So maybe you can tell something about that as well.
Yes, well, EPSO is very broad indeed. There are many types of contracts. On the specific question on how old or what time in your career, there's no direct answer. I would say that the data show that the average person entering the commission is 32, is around 32, early 30s. So when in Aurora there are only people below 36, well, good luck. We make up 4% of under 30, make up 4% of the commission staff, which is terrible. Let me just put that right away. So no exact timing for this. But of course, I mean, if you feel like this is something that you want to do, this is a good step, or this is something you want to try, then by all means. But be prepared to invest a lot of time in it. And as Daniel said, indeed, and it's not set in stone yet, but I might have the opportunity to sit a competition, but this will require a lot of time on my behalf in the next year to really invest in it. So I would say there are a lot of younger people who work on contractual agent positions, indeed, as Daniel did. There's this program now that I am part of for young people. But what I can tell you about the generalist competitions, in the sense that this is indeed the competition that they regularly write or organize for generalist profiles. There wasn't one this year, there wasn't one last year, and there wasn't one the year before. I am correct. In any case, it's been a while since any of these competitions for 85, which is the entry level, the graduate entry level for the EPSO, was organized. And to my personal view, I don't think there will be any in the near future either. In the sense that within the commission and within the institutions, there's been an increasing debate on whether or not this is a correct selection procedure, or whether this procedure leads to us hiring the people with the skills that we wanted in the first place. And especially there was a report by the European Court of Auditors not so long ago, which was basically slamming the whole EPSO procedures. And I'm not even considering my words, because for an ECHA report, it was quite harsh. And so that fuels, to me, again, the impression that these generalist competitions at entry level 85 will not be organized in the near future. Again, this is what I think. I could be wrong, but this is, at least I can give you my feeling about it. And my feeling is that we will move more towards specialized competitions, which is 85 or 87 for lawyers, for economists, for international relations, for much more targeted, well, let's say more targeted than the generalist one, where 30,000 people apply for 120 spots. So that's a bit the direction in which we're going. And if it would be at 87 level, then you need 6 years, if I'm correct, 5 or 6 years of experience. So that already makes a shift in your career plans, so to speak. Something to take into account. But yeah, long story short, there's no perfect timing. You can enter the commission or the institutions when you're 60, and when you're 32, and who knows, maybe when you're 27. If that answers your question, Bertrand.
Yes, thank you so very much.
Yeah, maybe just what I can add quickly. What some people do is, I mean, you can be a contractual agent for a maximum of 6 years, I think. So, I mean, some people try to, I mean, stay as long as they can as a contractual agent, and then within this time, pass the concours. So that way you could start working for the commission earlier, and then try to stay in the commission as a permanent, as a permanent member of the commission later. But yeah, of course, being a contractual agent is different to having a permanent position. That's clear.
Students, maybe I'm going to invite our permanent professor Peter Kleich to conclude the session. And Well, thank you very much for joining today, for answering the question, for presenting your career, for being available for our students too. It means a lot. It means a lot. And we're very happy to have this talk with you, and I leave the floor to Professor Kleich.
We can't hear you, Peter. Yeah.
So thanks, Jan, and thanks to all the speakers for their sharing their experience. And I'm sure that to pick up on the last question, that as time goes by and you're still on your tracks, that things will always move in a certain direction. And as we know, certainly with the experience of the last 2-3 years, things can be very, very unpredictable. As we have seen with the pandemic, who thought we would do an online session like this even 2 years ago? So there you have already a very big change in the world. So you see, we can also start doing new things like this now. So that I think is very good, and a very good opportunity actually that you wanted to be the first actually to jump on this call. And I think that the students that are in Bruges can now go to the bar if they want, and started to volunteer for the bar committee already after hearing this. So the EPA students are warned already. And we hope to also that you will, maybe we can see you also in Bruges at some point if you want to pass by. You're always welcome at the bar or at the faculty. Both places are fine. And we hope to see also you, the students and anybody who has joined us from outside the college to actually join us also for the next call, which I believe is the 19th of October, Jan, if I'm right. Okay, so the 19th of October, we'll have another session. That's a Tuesday at another time, and we hope to see you all there. Okay, so many thanks. Have a good weekend, and many thanks and virtual applauses for the speakers.
The message from Lukas on the chat. If I want to give you maybe a few words to wrap up and say it.
Yeah, no, I just wanted to say that I was very happy when the department reached out. I think this was something that I had a lot of very, very similar questions 3 years ago, and I think this speaks for all of us. So I think it's a very good initiative that this is being organized. I think this should be done on a permanent basis. If it was useful at all, I don't know, of course. I'll let the students be the judge of that. But if it is, and if you want to know more, don't hesitate to reach out. We are always happy to share experiences with what's going on.
Yeah, I can only second that. And even if you didn't have a question right now, at least for me, it's still fine to reach out on LinkedIn. I don't know about Lukas, but and then
Yes,
ask shoot your question at a later point. It's totally fine. And I think that's what these sessions are also good for. I mean, you have a face and you have someone to maybe reach out to in half a year, in a year. So feel free to do that as well.
And enjoy the weekend. I mean, Bruges is wonderful this time of year.